All right. Welcome to the show. This is the Frankly Fantasy Football Podcast. We are your hosts, Frankie and Johnny. Frankie, I would like to be the first to congratulate you on your 75th episode as a fantasy football podcaster. Congrats, brother. How's that feel, man?
Congrats to you, John. It's wild, isn't it, man? 75 episodes? This is crazy, dude.
Yeah, I mean, this is shit we would do anyway, just talking to each other about fantasy football, and it's great that there's people that enjoy it. I want to thank everybody for listening, keeping us going on 75 episodes. So great. Shout out to those giving us questions and shouting us out on YouTube in the comments. Some of you are pretty savage. We love you guys too. Keep that shit coming. But man, some of the questions, Frank, these guys are just great. I mean, they just constantly ask different questions and it's really engaging. Shout out to you guys, man. Please keep them coming. We want to read them on the air here, man. Welcome to the show, everybody. Today we've got our week 5 ice and fire. We're going to see who did what, who shit the bed, who was going crazy. We got to love that stuff, man. Don't forget you can follow us on Instagram. It's a great follow. A lot of good info, but also a lot of funny shit to go along with it too. And frankly, fantasy football. And don't forget, if you're listening everywhere podcasts are found, which most of you do, please check out the YouTube channels. You can see our beautiful faces. We throw up a few graphics every once in a while. Oh, Frankie's beautiful face. By the way, Frankie, has anyone ever told you your resemblance to Josh Allen?
No, but that's got to be the first. It's usually like I've heard Brooks Koepka. I've heard what's Ryan married to Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and a few others. But
Danny DeVito
and Danny DeVito, no, never. But I have heard of Mac from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So
you're definitely Mac from It's Always Sunny. No question. Questionable sexuality, you know, weight fluctuates up and down.
Hey, I get sweater Frank here and there. This is bulk season, baby.
It is bulk season, baby. All right, man. You know what? Let's get to the long list of news. Whew.
The season has begun. Listeners don't expect O.J. Simpson. Now flip out.
News and notes. Okay.
Crazy.
Get your IR slots ready, guys. Here we go. This is rough. Justin Jefferson, Jay Jetta, to go on IR with a hamstring injury. That sucks. That's really, really brutal. He's going to be out at least 4 weeks on the IR. Talk about the implications here, Frankie. This is a big one. This hurts everybody. Basically consensus number 1 overall pick in fantasy football. Yeah. Going to be gone for at least a month. What's happening here, man?
It's going to be detrimental. It's going to be detrimental to the offense. It's going to be detrimental to Kirk Cousins. But there is a silver lining from a fantasy perspective, and it could give a massive bump to that of Jordan Addison and KJ Osborne, and even more so to TJ Hawkinson. So I think that what it will do, though, man, it's certainly, in my personal opinion, going to be really difficult for Alexander Mattison. They're not going to have a true number 1 like that of Justin Jefferson to really keep defenses on their toes. They're not going to respect a rookie as much, certainly as JJ. And then obviously KJ Osborne, he's a good receiver, but he's a good receiver. That's it. And so, yeah, man, this is going to be pretty detrimental across the board. And honestly, John, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Kirk Cousins. I mean, with his contract and him a free agent next year, they might just say, hey, screw it. Word on the street is they're sitting there talking to Colt McCoy. And it's really interesting that they're doing that at this point in time. And so it really bodes to believe that there could be some trade rumors flying around for Kirk Cousins, man.
Yeah, I mean, their season's lost at this point. It's totally gone. And yeah, I really do think the right move, putting on the GM hat here, I think the right move is to move Kirk Cousins at this point. Try to get some other pieces, maybe bolster your defense, look to the draft next year. I think they're done. I think at this point, it's going to be extremely difficult. However, I love Jordan Addison.
Love him.
Love Jordan Addison now. I think KJ Osborne, you can absolutely start. It's just a matter of math. They throw the ball a ton. They're certainly going to be down. They're going to be looking to get back into the game. I think KJ Osborne's a good start, but Addison, he's the one that's got the lightning. He's the one that's exciting. I really, really like that. All right, let's keep going. Put him on your IR. Let's see what else we've got here. Devon Achane. Man, You and I both said, okay, we've got him. After those 2 weeks of what he did, I said, you know what? He's on my team. He is on my roster. You've earned a slot. It's happening. I started him this week, and it was fantastic.
It was amazing.
Absolutely loved it. Yeah, of course. He was on fire again. Definitely. He's out. Multiple weeks likely with a knee injury. Doesn't seem to be too serious, but they're looking at getting a second opinion right now before they determine if he's going to go on IR, which means he's probably being placed on IR. At least a couple of weeks here, it's looking like. So make other plans. I have other plans. I just really wanted to start Achane. And the worst thing that happened, I made a trade because I had Achane. I had depth. I'm like, oh my God, I've got 4 great running backs. I'm going to trade and get some pieces. Now I need Achane with bye weeks coming up, and I'm not going to have him. It's just absolutely brutal. Talk to me about that Miami backfield now, because it's a little interesting. Jeff Wilson is into the practice window now after being released on IR. You've got Raheem Mostert, a little banged up, but I think he's going to be okay. Not really any word on him being, hurt really this week or missing. What are you looking at now with this team?
It's definitely going to be Mostert as long as he can get out there. I think Jeff Wilson's going to be interesting. John, I don't know if Jeff Wilson's going to be ready enough for this specific week, but certainly will be there after this week, I would assume, or the following. And within that time frame, that's when probably Achane will be down for at least a week at that point, 2 weeks. So it's going to be interesting, man. But it's absolutely Raheem Mostert at this point in time if he can get on that field. And it's really that. I mean, we've seen Mostert perform very, very well so far this year, and I obviously see that continuing. But they are certainly going to need to get a second back in the mix there with the way they operate.
Yeah, and with the way that this offense has been functioning too, I don't know if Jeff Wilson's even understands what's going on with that offense yet. The crazy shit that they've been doing with Achane and Mostert on the field at the same time, putting them in the slot or at receivers, running them both in motion, faking to one guy, handing it to the other, doing the opposite. I don't think Jeff Wilson's got that yet. I mean, he certainly hasn't practiced, I mean, you can't really learn that in the classroom and watching films. So I think they may work Jeff Wilson in, but I don't think it's going to be any of that cool, crazy shit that they've been doing.
Totally
you
agree.
may see a little bit different of a team not being able to utilize those 2 backs, doing all that really cool motion, crazy shit, getting them the ball, fully already in motion and already running. It could be a little different. Yeah, I think you might see a little more traditional running back style out of Mostert while Achane's gone. I don't know. We'll see. But make other plans. Achane will be gone a few weeks. All right, here's another one. Get your IR ready. Here we go. It's warmed up. James Conner, running back for the Arizona Cardinals, placed on IR with a knee injury. He's going to miss at least 4 games with the IR. All right, this backfield. And actually, James Conner's been playing great, by the way.
Amazing.
Really, really, really good. All right, so we've got Amari DiMarcado. He came in when James Conner went down. He was 10 for 45 with a touchdown. The Cardinals also claimed Tony Jones Jr. off of waivers after New Orleans dropped him. What are you looking at with this backfield? Are you looking at anything in this backfield?
Yeah, I am looking at Amari DiMarcado and I think DiMarcado, because the way he performed, I think he solidified he is the guy behind that of James Conner. And I think Tony Jones actually did himself a favor by showing out at the time he did when Jamal Williams went down in New Orleans. And so this gave Tony Jones the opportunity. But for right now, man, it's definitely DiMarcado. But to the level of degree that it makes sense, I'm not really sure. He's certainly not a James Conner, at least from what we've seen so far. So temper your expectations, but I would assume he'd probably be the guy.
And they've got at the Rams and at Seattle the next 2 games. Not terrifying defenses when it comes to running the ball. So I think it's somebody that you could plug in with bye weeks and with these injuries. Okay, Anthony Richardson. Oh, man, this one absolutely killed me. I lost a week in one of our leagues, Frank, because I pulled out Jared Goff because he had no Jahmyr Gibbs. He had no Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I'm going, okay, Anthony Richardson, let's go. He was my backup. I'm waiting for a good matchup. This was a good matchup. Richardson goes down. He may go on IR. They haven't said yet, but he is going to miss multiple weeks, it's looking like, with a shoulder injury. I ended up losing because I had Anthony Richardson with 3 points and Jared Goff with 30 on my bench. That absolutely killed me. talk about the backup here. We got the grease ball out here stealing
Minshew mania, baby.
Gardner Minshew. How do you feel about him? He looks pretty goddamn good, actually.
I like him. I like him a lot. I think what he's done, he brings a Baker Mayfield-esque moxie when he is on the field, and so it's infectious, it's contagious. Now he's definitely not to the level, of a perennial starting quarterback at this point in time. But what he does do a very good job, he's a game manager. He's very similar to me, man, like that of a Jimmy G, a lesser Jimmy G. And so for me, John, I really like actually firing him up in a 2-quarterback league. If you need him and you're sitting there and maybe you have Danny Dimes, or maybe you have, another type of quarterback, maybe you did have actually Anthony Richardson, or maybe you have a quarterback that's really been struggling, guys. This is an interesting pickup because they have Jonathan Taylor, they have a decent offensive line, they have good weapons around him, and Zach Moss. How about Zach Moss carrying the load and taking the burden off of both JT and that of Minshew mania? So for me, man, it's really interesting. I do like Gardner Minshew, though. I really do.
All right, we're gonna talk about that because there's so much news. We're just gonna get into a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
We'll just talk about starts or sits or fantasy, what happens in the situation. JT and Zach Moss. All right, let's talk about that for a second. All the stuff I've heard on all the other podcasts, all the other shows, JTs is what they called them. JTs. What a tease. The guy's back. He's finally off the financially unable to perform list, which is what I thought it was.
Yeah, right.
They said he was 100%, though, physically able to go, like ready. Why did they only give him, what do you have? 6 carries, I think.
It was crazy. It was crazy. I mean, dude, Zach Moss literally carried the load, like actually did everything. And he looked amazing. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're the next question you're probably going to ask is, would you start Zach Moss? And my answer to that is you have to, because Anthony Richardson isn't there. What we're seeing out of Gardner Minshew is that he is throwing the ball a bit more than that of Anthony Richardson. Their game plan is changing because they're not having a running quarterback. So now they need a bit more brute force. And right now, I get it. JT signed a nice contract. He's the 3rd highest paid running back in the NFL on a per year basis. But it's hard to ignore what this dude's doing in Zach Moss. And so for me, man, I personally think you can still fire up Zach Moss this week.
So you're starting both of them.
I would have to. It would be the Devon Achane with that of Raheem Mostert, right? If you have either or, I would probably be firing both of them up last week, right? Or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? But yes, I think you have to at this point, John, until further notice.
It's weird. It's almost like Jim Irsay called down and he's like, hey, we just gave that guy a bunch of money. Fuck him.
Yeah, kind of.
Really, I don't get it. I really don't get it. All right. Another running back here went down. One of my champions, Khalil Herbert, running back for the Chicago Bears, looking to miss multiple weeks with an ankle injury. Let's talk about this backfield because also during that game, Roschon Johnson, the rookie who they really like, left the game with a concussion.
Yeah.
Okay. Activate Deontay Foreman now. What's the backfield look like to you now moving forward, Frank?
I mean, John, right now it's Foreman. I mean, it really is Foreman at this point in time. And I really think it's really not a backfield. As weird as that sounds, it's going to be Justin Fields running the ball. And that's what I really believe. We haven't seen it as much this year for whatever reason. I don't know why, but I think that they're going to need to get back to it. And the way Fields is throwing the ball, he's looking excellent the last 2 games. And I think that could carry over. But for me, if Foreman is healthy, you have to take that into consideration. And I think that he is the guy. But if he is still not 100%, John, I don't know if you start a Chicago running back this week.
Foreman looks like he's healthy. He was a healthy scratch the past couple of weeks because they just didn't need him. So that could be a good thing. You can get some fresh legs coming in. Yeah.
And we saw what Foreman did.
Alone.
Yeah.
With Carolina last year. Yeah, he looked really, really good. It was very solid. It's interesting because Roschon Johnson is probably likely to miss. Anytime you've got a guy in the concussion protocol, they typically miss the next week, So if you're looking at that, yes, Deontay Foreman, he's a healthy starting running back, basically alone in a backfield. Hey, you tell me if you don't need a guy like that on your team, good for you, but I fucking need him.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so pick him up if you haven't already. But I think moving forward, I mean, we're looking at Khalil Herbert's going to be a couple of weeks here probably. And moving forward, I think Roschon Johnson, make sure you've got him because when he does come back, they like him he's a third down guy. They like to throw the ball to him a little bit more. They like him around the goal line. And I think you're going to see Deontay Foreman more in that Khalil Herbert role. So I think Roschon Johnson has a role on the team already. So pay attention to that. It depends. Matchup's going to make a difference. Are the Bears going to continue rolling like they are? That's going to make a difference. But I think this particular week, you can start Deontay Foreman.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on here. Austin Eckler. Awesome. Excellent. Likely back versus the Cowboys on Monday night, according to Austin Eckler. And he's a big fan of fantasy.
Huge.
He understands. Yeah, he's not going to lie to us, okay? He's not going to pull a Pete Carroll on us and just totally blow smoke up our ass. Austin Eckler says 99% chance that he plays this week. So I feel pretty good about that. I think you can fire up Austin Eckler this week, finally. Deontay Johnson, wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, says that he will play in week 7 after the bye. Good news for the Steelers. I don't know if that's somebody you're going to feel great about rolling out there. Probably give him a week or two to see if he's getting the targets. That offense has struggled. Amon-Ra St. Brown missed this past week with an abdominal injury. He's got a, quote, pretty good chance to play in week 6, according to Dan Campbell. Keep an eye on that. That one hurt me as well. Javontae Williams missed last week, week 5 with a quad injury. He was limited practice Friday. I thought he was going to actually be able to go. They held him out. He did fully practice, I believe, on Monday. Is that correct? Yes. So keep an eye. Not a great matchup. Kansas City on Thursday. He's playing on Thursday. So a short week. There could be a surprise inactive. But keep an eye on that. But Kansas City's actually been pretty good against running backs. It's been pretty tough to run against them. So if you have to start him, if he's playing, you can. I personally would look for other options. Do you agree?
Totally agree. Yeah. Especially with the way Jaleel McLaughlin has been playing, and obviously Simon J.P. Ryan still being there. I totally agree, man.
Yeah. Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, this poor freaking guy. The entire offensive line should chip in for this guy's medical procedure here, man. Seriously, injures his neck. He was absolutely destroyed once again on primetime. Why are these guys on primetime so much? That's what I want.
Terrible.
I mean, my God, I'm just watching on a Thursday or a Monday night football, and I'm just watching this poor guy just get his ass handed to him. Just ole by the offensive tackles. Just go right past, man. Kill the quarterback. I don't know why they hate him. He seems like a nice guy. I don't know.
Yeah, right? They just do. Apparently, Evan Neal also is like, against the fans too, because they're all burger flippers. Who the hell knows? So, yeah, I don't know. But did you see that he came out and apologized formally to everybody and said that he takes back those remarks, which means he probably got a little bit chewed out.
Oh, yeah. That was a forced apology for sure. Daniel Jones, they're saying he's moving in the right direction. Hurt his neck. Listen, you can't play Daniel Jones at this point. If you in a super flex, you've got to find some other options. I'm digging in for other guys stepping in and backing up rather than using Daniel Jones right now. That offensive line is just so bad. Kelsey missed practice on Monday with an ankle sprain. Looks like he is going to get in limited practices the rest of the week, though. Monitor him. This is Thursday night football. That's the good news. So you're going to know early if you can't run with Kelsey, you can make a backup plan just in case. And that was an ankle sprain, by the way. Greg Dulcich, speaking of tight ends, he is designated for return from IR this week. Not sure if he's going to play Thursday. Watch the practice reports. Again, it's by the time we're recording this, it's a little early to give you enough news on this one. But he could be a very viable option for Russell Wilson in this offense. DeShaun Watson. All right, talk about this for me, man. I've seen some of your texts and articles and rumors and shit that you've put out there. DeShaun Watson, quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, day-to-day with a bruised rotator cuff. Not good, man. Here's my take. Let me give you my take, and then you can give me the real take.
Cool.
My take is, okay, I'm medically cleared. I feel pretty good. Who are we playing this week, guys? Oh, the 49ers. Yeah, man, that rotator cuff, I don't know if I can go. It's feeling kind of bad. Then you got DTR, Donovan. He's sitting there with his eyes open. Wait, what? Fuck that.
You better be in there. I'm not trying to go out there.
You saw what happened to me at the Ravens game. What do you think these 49ers are going to do? Talk to me about DeShaun, man.
It's brutal. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible situation. Like this guy, I mean, John, like first and foremost, before last game, I mean, he was saying he was ready to go and then he was medically cleared to what you said and then didn't go, which is fine. You then have a bye week. You have a whole week off of a bone bruise, off of a bruised shoulder. Okay. And now it's coming out that there's been a lot of animosity happening, that some of the players were upset after the last game against Baltimore. And it was strictly because apparently DeShaun was telling them the entire time that he was going to play. And then it was kind of a surprise to them. And so then they were kind of upset about it. And so now it's a mess. It's a mess because the reality of the situation is if DeShaun doesn't play, the Browns are nowhere in the vicinity of close of winning this game. And so it like at this point, then just sit the rest of the defense, keep them healthy, keep Miles healthy, keep Zadarius healthy. And I'm being serious. I'm totally being honest.
I agree.
Because what is the point? We have an awesome stretch of games coming up in the next 6 games. And so let's just get through this week. If he can't run, like, I don't know, man. I really think the Browns need to just, I don't know. I mean, I know it sounds terrible, and they won't do it, but I would really seriously consider taking out some of your heavy hitters this week because this game is going to get that out of hand. It could.
I think if they've got DTR starting, it is going to get out of hand.
It'll be DTR or PJ Walker at this point.
Yeah, it's absurd. If that's the case, as soon as they go up by 2 touchdowns, you got to pull Miles out of there. You got to get some of these guys out because then if there's injuries, my God, man. I mean, this cannot be the game that we just lose the entire season on. But DeShaun, I'm so disappointed. This guy needs to come. First of all, I've got very little respect for him.
Totally.
I gave him the benefit of the doubt on all this stuff, but I wanted to see him come out as a man and be a leader of men and lead this team. He's just not a good leader, man. He's not a good leader, and he's losing the confidence of his teammates. He just needs, at this point, I don't care. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to the press. Get on the field and fucking ball. Otherwise, I don't want to hear anything else.
Totally, man. You have a $250 or $35 million, $55 million, I can't remember, guaranteed contract. Guaranteed. He's getting paid to sit on his ass. Meanwhile, you have the rest of these guys that are fighting their nuts off. And so for me, man, like, yes, this has actually been extremely frustrating for everybody, including the players themselves. And especially from a fantasy perspective, this decimates, in my opinion, everybody, especially in a matchup this week. We're talking Amari Cooper, DPJ, Elijah Moore, Jerome Ford. We're talking the entire Kareem Hunt, even. We're talking the entire slew of them. The only one that might be any remote chance of being able to start would be Njoku. And that's because he is going to be the check down. But then you're also seeing Fred Warner across the way, and you don't want to get hit by him right now without any, because those balls might not be that great. So it's a really ugly situation, and it's just shitty. It's shitty.
If DTR starts, it's a bad start anyway against the against the 49ers. If you're at full go, I'd look for other options anyway, but you could still throw out Amari Cooper. You could still throw out Njoku, Jerome Ford potentially. If DTR starts, you cannot play any Browns players. You must. No. You'll be better off looking for, third receivers on other
KJ
teams. Osborne, perfect example. You'd start KJ Osborne over Amari Cooper if DeShaun isn't playing.
I might start Josh Reynolds over Amari Cooper if DeShaun's not playing. Like, these are that is how big of a drop off it actually is when you're playing a caliber of defense. Yeah. And it's not just it's not just the DBs here as well. It's also Nick Bosa is going to be going against Jed Wills and a rookie. And no Bitonio potentially. So it's just, it's really rough.
We need a Browns podcast where we just cry and do therapy with each other the whole time. Yeah, my God.
Hold hands.
All right, moving on. A couple of other guys here. Zay Jones is day-to-day with a knee injury. Tank Dell is in the concussion protocol. Saquon Barkley still yet to be determined for this week. I wonder. I don't blame him either, and I wonder if that's part of it. I'm serious.
Seriously.
I really do. He's got a high ankle sprain, but he was supposed to be back this week, potentially wasn't. Put your GM hat here on, man. I mean, October 31st in the NFL is the trade deadline. Are we going to see, am I holding Saquon because he might be on another team in a month?
He could be. And I say that because the contract is so sexy. I mean, he signed a 1-year deal. That's it. Like a 1-year deal. Like these, not the overly committed. And the 1-year deal he signed, John, was less than what JT signed. That's kind of crazy when you start thinking about it. So he is prime trade bait, if that in real life, in actual real life, in football, if the Giants are truly just like, this is it. Because I mean, Saquon also, he's looking at that offensive line. He don't want to run behind that right now. No way. So get as much as you can for him and keep building this team.
All right. So let's play a fun game. You and I like to do this. You do it all the time. Let's play a fun game. The trade deadline in the NFL is October 31st. Rumors and talking about potentially Kirk Cousins, potentially Saquon Barkley. Where do you see these guys going? Like, where would be perfect fits, or where do you think they could go if they
Saquon? Yeah, great question. First and foremost, Kirk Cousins. I love Falcons. I love Atlanta. Atlanta makes so much sense because they have the offensive line. They just traded for Van Jefferson to shore up their receiver 2, receiver 3 spot. They have Drake London. You have Kyle Pitts. You have Janu Smith. And then did I even mention Bijan Robinson or Tyler Algier? It's a great team, and their defense is much improved. So this is a very, very interesting thing that's happening. Now, they might believe in Desmond Ridder. From what I've seen, Desmond Ridder had a really good game last week, and before that, it's been absolutely terrible. So you have an opportunity. I
agree. I will say, let me jump in. He did look like a real NFL quarterback.
Really good.
Actually, really good. He looked really good.
Over 300
we'll see
yards.
If that continues. They've got a couple of weeks before the trade deadline to figure that out. He may be turning a corner. We'll see.
Yeah, totally. And the contract is what makes sense, because now if you're the Falcons, John, you don't have to pay Desmond Ridder, this king's ransom. So now you can have him be mentored by that of a Kirk Cousins. And so for me, I think that makes a lot of sense, man. I really do. And then for Saquon, why not the Bills? Why not the Buffalo Bills? We are seeing them have 3 running backs that are all subpar at this point. Let's just call it what it is. Latavius is old. He's still on the field, still doing his thing. You got James Cook, who kind of is explosive, kind of is fumbling the ball. He's a little bit all over the place. And Damian Harris is not even relevant right now. And so for me, man, could you imagine having Saquon and knowing, because it doesn't matter, right? He's still on a 1-year deal. What if you traded a decent amount to get Saquon? You might not even pay him after this, but you're telling him the key is we're going to go on a championship run, get you a championship. And okay, you're definitely going to get signed by some team next year. It makes a lot of fucking sense. So like for me, man, the Bills, if they have the ability to do this could be revolutionary for their offense to get somebody like that. So it could make sense.
Let me throw out a little fun thought experiment for you. How long until Robert Saleh calls Kirk Cousins and works out a deal for Kirk Cousins to go to the Jets? I mean, let's revive Garrett Wilson, please. Please, God. That could be a real possibility, man.
Could be a real possibility. The only caveat to that is, John, is Kirk Cousins is absolutely a 1-year rental. That's what it is. He's the same difference as what he is in Minnesota, except he legitimately still has a chance, because that win that the Jets had against the Broncos kept them in it to a certain degree. So now you're basically looking at a team that has every piece around it, including a dynamic defense, and they're missing the quarterback. So if you can convince Kirk Cousins, this is what it is, over, hey, you're a free agent, you're probably not going to go back to the Vikings. They're going to probably move on. I don't know, man. It could absolutely make sense. Here's the other thing, in a completely different scenario. What is Kyler Murray going to go? I know we didn't even hit on that, but the reason why I'm bringing this up is because could that also affect where Kirk Cousins goes? Could they end up moving away, the Cardinals, because they're just like, hey, I'm going to go for one of the top quarterbacks coming up. So there's a lot of weird things happening in the NFL right now, man, to where it truly is up in the air with some guys that I would consider not a superstar, not elite, but that next tier below, which is extremely valuable on an NFL team. It's going to be interesting.
Could Kirk Cousins help the Jets get to the playoffs? I think they could.
I think they could. I totally think they could.
Their season's not over at this point.
No way.
There's plenty of time. Their schedule lightens up a bit in the middle here. I think they've got a perfect opportunity to do that. Yeah. Kyler Murray is not even really close to coming back yet.
No.
Yeah. All right. Well, here we go. We can always pretend this is called fantasy, right?
It is called fantasy.
Let's get the Frankie and Johnny Song of Ice and Fire. All right, man. Let's get to some ice here, okay? This guy killed me, and it sucks because he had a really good game. He played very, very well. His receivers had 7 drops, man.
Awful.
Just absolutely killed him. Lamar Jackson, only 6 points, didn't help you out, ended up losing the game as well. Just brutal. Dak Prescott, another one, man. I mean, we could just put the entire Cowboys team on ice this week.
Yeah.
Because they just got worked, man. Oh my God. Does not bode well for the Browns coming up to play that 49er defense. Jesus. Dak Prescott, 6 points. Jordan Love got exposed for sure by a bad defense. I mean, you're telling me that Max Crosby single-handedly destroyed Jordan Love and the Packers offense? They've got nothing else on that defense.
No, it was Max Crosby. It was actually him. It was crazy.
Yeah, weird. Must have been great coaching, man, because they destroyed him, made him look foolish. 6 points for Jordan Love.
Yeah.
Let's get to some running backs here. James Cook, who we talked about with the Buffalo Bills. Rough day for James Cook. Not good on the averages here. 5 carries for -4 yards.
Nice.
No bueno. 3 for 25 through the air, 3 points. Najee Harris, you can't start him. You can't trade him. He's just going to sit on your roster.
He's going to rot.
Yeah. Second week in a row where Jaylen Warren has outscored Najee Harris. I mean, he's just a better back at this point. I could see Jaylen Warren. We've been talking about it all year that you're going to see that shift. The shift has been happening. I think now working through the bye, you may see a lot more plays designed specifically for Jaylen Warren. But Najee Harris was 14 for 37, 4 points. Tony Pollard, we talked about 5 points out of him. Better days ahead for Tony Pollard. No need to panic on that one. They've played really tough defenses and haven't really gotten their shit together. This guy I want to talk a little bit about. You and I were both high on him preseason, offseason. Yeah. We both have him in leagues. Ramondre Stevenson, running back for the New England Patriots, 8 for 24, 2 points. All right, let's talk about Ramondre here. I've been thinking about this all day. I'm kind of trying to talk myself into buying low on Ramondre. Thoughts on that? Am I a fucking idiot? What do you think on that, Frankie?
No, I don't think you're an idiot. And I think that the reason why is because when you look at his schedule, for those listening and watching, week 1, Philly, week 2, Miami, week 3 at the Jets, week 4 at Dallas, week 5 against New Orleans. 4 out of 5 of those teams have a top 10 defense. Okay, like that is not anything to gawk at. Then on top of it, you look at his schedule ahead. He's at Vegas, right? We saw what AJ Dillon just did, right, to Vegas. Like that was pretty awesome what AJ Dillon did. Then you go to Buffalo, huge pass catching upside against that of Buffalo. Then you have Miami
with Buffalo. Real quick, Buffalo's defense is decimated.
It is.
They lost a lot.
Matt Milano,
pieces on their defense, man. And look what Travis Etienne did to those guys.
Cut them up.
I mean, I know they were jet lagged. I know that experiment of keeping a team in. Did you hear Roger Goodell, by the way?
No. What did he say?
They wanted to experiment. That was a total experimental game of having the Jaguars play 2 weeks in a row, staying in London and having a team come there. They wanted to see how it affected the players, how it affected the teams. Listen, dude, it did affect them.
Totally did.
It completely affected. They got to the stadium late. They were jet lagged. The Jaguars, they woke up. They'd been there for a week. They had
the cup of coffee
in the morning and walked out.
I just tried to do a British accent. It was terrible. I had the cup of coffee. That's not it.
Oh that's Borat.
That's Paul Rudd, dude. like doing something.
Slap it a ass. Slap it a ass.
Slap it a ass. Hold on. Let me. I can't do it, John. It's the top of the morning to you. I can't fucking do it. What
oh my
is happening?
God. What are you going after your Lucky Charms? Jesus Christ.
I know. Do it. Do the accent. I want you to do it so I can mimic it.
Listen, mate, I'm going to fucking kill you right now. There you go.
Good. Fuck.
That's a good one, right?
That's really good. God, I can't.
That's my best Jason Statham. That's a Jason Statham accent, right?
Fuck you, mate.
But yeah. All right, so there you go.
Hey, that was good. I just got to talk Jason Statham. Fuck you, mate. I'm coming at you quite hard. a bit much. Bring in your Triscuits and your trinkets and my tea. And we going to get after it against the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, I can do it.
You know what? You totally redeemed yourself there.
That was good.
Totally redeemed yourself.
God, that was so
you should teach an accent class. That's
I should.
amazing.
Oh.
But Ramondre, I'm liking the upcoming schedule. I think that he's been banged up a little bit too. I think that they're going to use his talents, man. I mean, they said they've got to make a lot of changes. I think they're going to get back to hard-nosed football, ground and pound. I think they need to throw. He had 0 targets last week, Ramondre. Great. They need to get back to throwing him the ball. They need to get back to checkdowns, getting the blitz off of the quarterback, whether it's Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones, either one. I think they're going to have to.
He had 0 receptions, Ramondre. 2 targets. I just want to make sure I called that out. 2 targets. You've had 0 receptions.
Yeah, 0 receptions. Yeah, so I'm thinking about looking at buying low on him. If I can get him,
I think it's not a bad
peanuts. With the running back landscape that's out there, he could be a very good buy low candidate here. Okay, moving on. Miles Sanders. This is not a buy low candidate in my mind. Miles Sanders was 7 for 32 with a fumble. He had 1 point. You can't even start him now, can you, Frank?
No. And I was the guy that was opposite of that, John, all offseason. You were the one who even told me. You said, dude, you can't do it because his offensive line is bad. I was the opposite. I said, listen, this is the guy that's going to be able to be leaned on, and he's one of the only pieces of Carolina. Hey, man, I'll admit when I'm wrong. I was terribly wrong. You almost cannot start Miles Sanders. Actually, you cannot start Miles Sanders until further notice.
Agreed. JT's Jonathan Taylor, 6 rushes for 18 yards, 3 points. Devonta Smith, this one's been weird. 1 catch for 6 yards, 1 point. Is this just happenstance? Is this just, there's better days ahead? It's just
totally.
Sometimes,
Sometimes it's Devonta Smith. Sometimes it's AJ Brown. Sometimes it's a mix of both. And this just wasn't the last 2 weeks wasn't his weeks. And the first 2 weeks were his weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So therefore we've got 2 good weeks and next coming up for Devonta Smith.
I hope so.
Math, right? Yeah. I recognize patterns, Frank. That's what I do. It's my skill.
Nice.
Cortland Sutton, wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, 1 for 13, 1 point. Okay. All right, man. Let's get to fire. Let's get rid of these shitbags. Let's talk about who was on fire this week, man. All right. Hey, this is all you, buddy. Stack of the week right here.
Stack attack.
The number 1 receiver and the number 1 quarterback on the week, Justin Fields, DJ Moore. Give it to me, Frankie. Give it to me high and hard.
Ooh, baby. First and foremost, I want to shout out Clutch Sports, Clutch Points over here for one hell of a graphic. Look at that fire coming out of their fucking face. Secondly, guys, looking at DJ Moore, what did he have? Well, I'm going to tell you. He had 8 receptions for 230 yards and 3 tutties on 10 targets. Absolutely insane. He had an 80% catch rate. And then you look at his counterpart and that of Justin Fields. Guys, this is exactly why early on, when we were talking mock drafting, this could be a very interesting stack. If you stuck with Justin Fields through those first 2-3 brutal weeks, he has repaid you handsomely to the tune of 3rd overall quarterback in fantasy football right now. John, he ended up having 15 of 29 for 282 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and he also had 57 yards rushing. This guy is getting back to form. Bears fans, be fucking patient with this dude. We watched him at Ohio State. He's the real deal. Continue to ride this guy. And man, are these two fun to watch, John. Absolutely scorching earth on fire.
It's everything that we wanted to happen. You and I were so high on DJ Moore coming into this team, just underutilized, underappreciated in Carolina. we thought this was going to be a perfect match. We've seen what happens when you give a dynamic quarterback with talent, a star receiver with A.J. Brown, Stephon Diggs. We've seen what that does. It's taken a little while. The Bears had some serious problems starting off the season.
Big time.
Seems like they're getting those fixed. Let's hope that continues. But man, DJ Moore is a huge part of that. And with Khalil Herbert going down, rookie running back that had, the other running back hasn't even played with this team yet in a game, I don't think. And they're going to rely on DJ Moore, man. I mean, it's going to run through him. So that's pretty exciting right there. All right, let's get to a couple of other quarterbacks here I want to mention. We'll just go through some of these quickly. Josh Allen, big week, 33 points. Brock Purdy, 33 points. This guy, man,
unbelievable.
Listen, I have been shitting on Brock Purdy since he came on. And I'm sorry. Okay. Brock, talk to me, Brock. I'm going to pretend the microphone's Brock. Brock, you're Purdy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm dumb. You're stupid. You're pretty. I'm ugly. I'm sorry, Brock. You're playing great, man. No picks at all this season. That's incredible, man. The guy just fits right into this offense. He's perfect for it, and I'm impressed. I am. I can't believe it's been this sustainable. I didn't think it was going to sustain.
John, what's crazy with Brock Purdy is this was the game for me that actually showed me that Brock Purdy can win you games. Yeah. And that was the biggest difference. He can win you games now. And it's not just relying on CMC, who had a very pedestrian outing. The touchdown saved him. Other than that, it was Brock Purdy's show, baby. And it was awesome.
It was. Jared Goff with 31 points. Jalen Hurts with 30 points. Joe Burrow at number 6 with 29 points. Had to bring that up. Welcome back, Joey B. Threw the ball 34. Threw the ball. Here we go. Where is it? 46 pass attempts. Welcome back with a vengeance, man. Yeah, he was moving around. He was mobile. He looked pretty good. Special mention here. Number 7 on the list for QBs, Desmond Ridder, 29 points.
Had to.
Yeah, all right. I called him the worst quarterback in the league, but I'm sorry. The little fucking Mormon kid owns that title right now. All right, running backs, top of the week, Zach Moss, 35 points. Travis Etienne, very quiet in fantasy this year and came in with a vengeance, man, 35 points. Breece Hall, Breece Lightning, baby.
Yeah.
Our start of the week last week.
Smash start.
That's right. Breece Hall, 29, almost 30 points there. Devon Achane, 23 points. David Montgomery, start of the week that we had as well, 23 points. Receivers, we talked about DJ Moore. Jamar Chase, welcome back, baby. My
Big time.
God. DJ Moore, by the way, 48 points. Jamar Chase, 46 points. I mean, we've got these receivers are banging out I feel like every week there's 1 or 2 guys that are over 40 points.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. It's awesome. Tyreek Hill. Oh, he had a down week, only 181 yards receiving, and he was the number 3 receiver on the week. How about that? 30 points out of Tyreek.
Unbelievable.
George Pickens, 25 points. Adam Thielen. Jesus Christ. All right, I'm wrong. Are they all garbage points? Yeah, some of them are garbage points, but guess what? This is fantasy football. You don't have to win the game. You just have to have yards and touchdowns, baby. Just give me points. Thielen's getting it. He's getting it. He might be the garbage king this year. All right, let's talk about Thielen real quick, Frankie. Is he, in my mind, he's a trade high candidate if I've ever seen one.
Definitely, certainly. And if I have him, I'm absolutely trading him high for sky high right now. And I'm all about Adam Thielen. Like, that's the thing. He's a perfect. Here's what he is. For those of you trying to trade for him or sell him high, he's the perfect 2 in that trade. Give one piece and give Adam Thielen, because right now he's enough to get you over that hump, to get you that one piece that you're really dying for. And so a good example of this is maybe you could do a Cooper Kupp and an Adam Thielen for something crazy, right? Especially with JJ going down, and maybe somebody needs something like that. That's the kind of guy right now that you can end up partnering with somebody to get a serious ass piece. So I love Adam Thielen, man. Like a Bijan, perfect example.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. Let's look at a couple tight ends here. Number 1 on the week, George Kittle. 3 touchdowns out of George Kittle, man. 26 points. He's out there stealing carburetors, too. Dallas Goedert, welcome back. 22 points. Sam Laporta, the number 1 tight end on the year right now. Rookie. rookie, man, breaking records left and right now. 18 points out of Sam Laporta. Just awesome connection there. Travis Kelce at number 4 with 17 points. All right, man. Well, yeah. Crazy week. Are you going to make it through, the week here with the injuries and everything? I mean, are your teams decimated? Are you freaking out?
Oh, I'm so freaking out. I am so freaking out. I had Nick Chubb. I have Aaron Rodgers. I ended up having JJ in a league. I also had Khalil Herbert, and I had, Achane that I fired up in the league with JJ and Nick Chubb. So I'm a little bitter.
All right. Well, to round us off here, Frank, let's get to the Thursday night football preview.
Let's do it.
Got the Denver Broncos at the Kansas City Chiefs. Vegas loves this one. It's a negative 10.5. The Chiefs are favored 10.5 points with an over-under of 48 points. Break it down for me, brother.
Yeah, man. I just think that this is going to be an absolute ass beating. I think the Chiefs, the Broncos just lost to the Jets because of Russell Wilson fumble, and they housed it. Like, this is a shit storm if I've ever seen a shit storm for the Denver Broncos. They should not be this bad, and they are terrible. And so for me, man, I think the Chiefs are going to come out. I think they're going to smack them in the mouth at Arrowhead. I think you can fire up from a fantasy perspective Isaiah Pacheco. This is a dream scenario for him with this Denver defense right now. And I also really do think that one of these receivers, I don't know which one it is, but with Travis Kelce banged up, it's going to be Rashee Rice. It's going to be Sky Moore. It could be MVS. It could be Kadarius Toney, who also had a decent showing again. It's one of these guys are going to absolutely pop off, and I don't know, but I love the Chiefs here. And John, from the Broncos side, man, it's ugly. It's ugly. It's super ugly. I don't know if I'm starting a Broncos running back this week, knowing how good the Chiefs have been against the run. And I'll throw this back on you. Are you firing up? Are you willing to fire up a Courtland Sutton after what he did last week, or Jerry Jeudy?
I mean,
you might need to if you have JJ, and he went down, right?
You might have to, but I really don't expect good things out of these receivers. I mean, you could look at some garbage time here, but I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know when it's going to be. It could be Marvin Mims, for Christ's sake.
Could be.
I mean, who knows what's going to happen there? Dulcich could come in at tight end and get some work. It is going to be garbage time, and that's just going to be nearly impossible to predict with this team. I'm really trying to stay away from as many Broncos as I can this week, including Javontae Williams.
Yeah, definitely. And what's tough is I think I'm going to have to fire up Russell Wilson, man, in a 2-quarterback league. That's all I got.
Yeah, well, super flex, 2-quarterback leagues. There's not going to be a lot of options, man. All right, well, good luck to everybody. Good luck to you on your Thursday night matchup, guys. All right, thank you, everybody, for listening and for watching. Don't forget you can follow us on Instagram at Frankly Fantasy Football, and make sure you follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Smash the notifications bell. Give you an episode tell you every time we have an episode coming out. Stay tuned. In 2 days, we've got our Friday episode. Will be our starts and sits, our hit it and quit it, our smash and pass, baby. Yeah. Frankie, what else you got for me, man?
Guys, just want to give a shout out to listen, as John mentioned, to the starts and sits coming. We're really excited about this because I'm telling you guys, this past week we crushed it. So enjoy this week, and may the fantasy gods smile upon you, John. Sorry, I had to do it, guys.
At least you got it right.
John. I did.
Bastard. Bye.